You're now in your space, your brick-and-mortar artist Replete space.
That's correct. We're downtown, right off of Michigan Avenue, downtown Chicago.
Tell us a little bit about artist Replete, or before artist Replete. Like, what was regular Matt life?
Yeah, for sure. So I always had this kind of like feeling within me that I just wanted to get more out of life and do more out of life. I was always looking for my passion. I never really knew what it was. I was kind of following along in life, like looking at other people's passions and just kind of just going about life. So in the beginning, I was like cooking for a living, which is what my brother does, and I was just following in his footsteps. And over time, I just kind of fell out of love with that. And then the art world kind of happened by accident. I think what's really important is people need to like recognize their surroundings and how they feel about certain things. And when things come across your way, if you enjoy them, if they become a hobby, if you're really into it, then you should recognize that and pursue it, which is something that I think people throughout their whole lives don't even think about, so this business basically began with someone who came to me and they wanted me to sell their art because I was in sales positions after I stopped cooking for a living. So I had no idea what I was doing, but I was really fascinated to learn. And I eventually wanted to have full control of my schedule and just kind of live a financially free life. And that was the goal. And kind of just one thing led to another, and it was like a relentless pursuit that lasted for years, and that led us here.
Yeah, when that person came to you wanting to get their art sold,
Yeah.
was that moment that you were like, man, this is an idea I could really execute on, or like?
Yeah, I think it wasn't right away. It was more like a question, So at that time, I think you remember my past life. I worked in like a nightclub, and I was selling bottle service, and I was in my 20s, and I was like, well, I can't do this position in my 30s, I don't want to grow old into this, so I need an exit strategy. So a gentleman came to me. He's like, hey, I'm an artist. Like, I see you selling tables. What do you think about selling my art? And I was like, well, I don't know, but I was really curious. I was inquisitive about the whole experience of just being asked that. So I went home, I think that night, and I like looked a bunch of stuff up. I was just asked myself a bunch of questions. I'm like, how does art selling work? How much does someone who sells art make? Is artwork sold online? Just all these questions filled my head, and then I just became interested. And I noticed that I just kept on thinking of it. So I would go home from work and I would think about it. And I noticed in my spare time I kept thinking about it. So I was like, wow.
Keep that mic a little closer.
You just keep on thinking about this, and you're not letting it up. Why don't you pursue this? So I did, and I kind of had I was in a circle of friends with money. So in the beginning, it was fun. I was fascinated by the fact that there really isn't like an educational system to get into it. Now you can go to school to become an artist, but you cannot necessarily go to school to be a dealer. And the most fascinating stat that I found when I looked up online, I was like, how much does the average art dealer make? And it said 50 grand a year. I'm like, well, I don't know. And I typed, how much does the wealthiest art dealer make? And it said 1 billion. And I was like, well, the average and the top is like really crazy. So I'm like, this might be just a game of skill, Yeah. Because a lot of industries are capped, meaning, a doctor, he can make a good amount of money, but it's really hard to get past a certain cap unless you're like a surgeon and you require to go to like a tremendous amount of medical school. And there's all these hoops and like things you got to jump through. And it just felt like an open door to me for some reason, And then I researched like how many art galleries are in Chicago, and all these stats of just like the more and more things I looked up, the more I wanted to do it. And that's kind of how it started, And yeah, that was just like the basic like building blocks of starting this thing.
So that's how you felt like you had an opportunity.
Yeah, I felt like I had an opportunity. I fully understood it was going to take some time and it might not go anywhere. But the most important part that I thought of was, well, I'm not doing anything right now that I like am tremendously proud of. So even if I try and I fail, I'll be happy that I tried.
Leveling up to the e-commerce platform.
Yeah, for sure. So that was like a big learning experience for me. I didn't really know how to build a website. I didn't know what I was doing. So in 2017, I built like a basic website with a friend. It was like a WordPress site, and I learned pretty quick that I did not like to code, and coding like kind of sucks. And customizing a site was really important, and making updates was really important. And I just really feel like I didn't have control with WordPress. So once we switched over to Shopify, which is about a year or two later, then we actually saw results, and things began to go. But the biggest transitional period for the company was in the pandemic, because now you have all of these art galleries that were kind of focused on their space shut down. And I had spent a couple years building this thing just online. So sales started coming in consistently. And I almost felt guilty in a way, because while the world was crumbling around me, I was becoming like very financially stable during that time. I remember I didn't have any employees like we do now, or any staff. And I remember orders coming in, and I was in Chicago at this time. My mom, she lived in Michigan. I said, "Hey, I don't think I can box up this many pieces by myself. Do you think you could come help me?" And it was like a moment. It's like my mom came with a COVID mask, and I think we boxed up like 40 or 50 paintings in one day together. And I didn't have a process for doing this or shipping it, and like I just kind of figured it out. And that was the intro where I started realizing this can actually be something. But before then, on the way to get there, was a lot of months and actually years where things almost like didn't seem like they're going to work out at all. And I think the big takeaway from this for anyone is like, if you have an idea and you believe in it, you have to stick to it. And you can't think in terms of, oh, I'm going to like make it big in a month, or 3 years from now this is going to pop off, I'm going to be rich. These things take time. Like this business is now, like, from the first moment I was interested in until now, that was like about 10 years ago. The first website was like 2017. So these things take time before they take off. And you have to be relentless in your pursuit, meaning that month after month, it just might feel hopeless. But think about this, and this is like something I've learned through reading, is that is when everyone else will quit and where you need to keep going. Because we live in this era now of instant gratification. And if you can keep working without getting that gratification month after month and keep persisting, eventually you'll break through when everyone else will give up, because they'll be like, I can't do this anymore, I'm getting no results. Like, you have to almost be a little bit insane, I guess you could say. Like, you have to just work without seeing results for a long time, and you have to just say, well, how can I do this different? How can I elevate this? And you have to keep going. So although like a website was created in 2017, I'd say 2018 and 2019, barely any sales at all. Where most people would be like, no way, like this is done. My family was like, when are you going to give this up? Like this is, when are you going to stop chasing this?
Yeah.
And I just said, well, you know what? Like, I don't really have anything else like that I want to do, so I'm going to do this. And
Yeah.
I kept doing it and kept doing it until it broke through. And that's what you have to do for anything. I think people go into things and they have like a backup plan, and maybe that's safe and that's good. But, if you put yourself in a position where there is no backup plan, then it will work by design, because you have no other option but to make it work. Because when it gets really hard, that's when you'll jump to the backup plan. But if it gets really hard and your back is against the wall and there's no other plan, you're going to see it through.
All right, bro. So next question is about how you found the talent, right? Like how you
Yeah,
all
yeah.
these artists, these great artists, kind of in a space where everything's kind of cohesive and it really delivers a vibe.
Yeah, yeah.
How did you find the artists beginning to kind of get you launched off in that way? Like what was the eye that you had? What were you really looking for?
For sure. So I think the first thing to realize is how blessed we are to live in this day and age where we have social media, multiple different types of social media to connect with people. So I really use that to my advantage. And I talk to a lot of artists via Instagram. And I would search on different hashtags, locations, and I would just scan. I'd spend hours and hours scanning like Instagram, and I would find artists. In the beginning, it was artists that I thought their work was cool, and artists that were like up and coming and that would work with me. Because in the beginning, when you really don't have anything to offer, like, hey, I have this idea, will you work with me? It's like there's no foundation. So most people are going to be like, no way, you're not doing anything, you know? So you have to almost really sell yourself and just say, hey, like, you want to be a part of something, you know? Like, I'm really going to try hard. I'm going to give my all at this. And I'd love for you to join on this journey, you know? So that's the best way I did it. And a lot of people in the beginning said, no, I don't want to do this. Like, it's not for me. And a lot of people just like read the message and didn't even respond, you know?
Yeah.
But you can't be sensitive to that. You have to kind of bulldoze through all of those hurdles and just continue on the path. So I found artists whose work that I felt was inspiring, and I felt that they were going to grow. You know, like I said, this person, you almost have to have foresight. I'm like, if they keep working, they keep making effort, this is going to get more popular. This is going to become a market, and I believe in this. So yeah.
Nice. In terms of also like now, fast forward, kind of getting your team together.
Yeah.
You know, like now, fast forward, you're not packaging stuff with your mom. And
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Like, how did you put together the team? What did you need in order to make this come alive, as well as like, how did you lead the team into, you know?
Yeah. So I was blessed to have a lot of things happen organically, and I recommend to any entrepreneur, try and have things be organically as possible. And what I mean by that is, in the beginning, it was just me with this relentless journey that never stopped, you know? However, I always networked, and I always did as much networking as I could. So what happened was, that started building the team, was I did a pop-up exhibition inside of a medical spa, and it was called like Goat Cryo. It was in River North, and this is pre-pandemic, because you had to have a certain amount of money to even go to the spa. So I'm like, well, there's like wealthy clientele, and the people that ran it liked art. So it was just about unique collaborations.
Wait, is this the place that did the cryotherapy?
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a great event.
Yeah, it was cool, right?
First cryo.
It was unique, right?
Yeah.
So through that, I met what is now my business partner and investor that helped me open this. So what happened there was, I did that show. We really didn't sell anything, but people had fun. And that was like, okay, I'm like, well, these people had fun. But you can't look at every like failed thing as just a monetary moment. Like, oh, I didn't make any money, because those things can set you up later on down the line. You need to have a winning mentality even when you're losing. So I met some people through that, and I invited them to my next shows, my next exhibitions, which were at restaurants and other collaborations. And a gentleman by the name of Eric Vilas, he attended my other shows, and he was really fascinated, and he enjoyed it, and he saw the sales, and he was just really curious, almost to the same degree of curiosity I had when I was starting this. And so he kept on attending things, and he attended things to the point where he was noticeably interested in being part of the company. And Eric was in a good financial place in his life. He's very organized, and I recognized he had a lot of strengths that are my weaknesses. Like, he's tremendously good at math and spreadsheets and, you know, predictions and numbers, where I'm kind of like more of a risk taker and all that. So yeah, fast forward a bit, and the pandemic is kind of ending. This space that we're speaking in now, downtown Chicago, becomes available, and I go back and forth about it, and the rent is pretty aggressive. So I reach out to Eric, and I'm like, hey, you know, this could be an opportunity for the business to really take shape in physical form, and the next steps. I would like you to partner with me on this if you're interested. And at this time, you know, I think he'll be like, he'll think this is a little funny. He actually had artist Replete in his Instagram bio. Like he was just like, it was just like, he just had it in his bio. And at that point I was like, well, this guy really likes this company. It's in his bio,
Yeah,
you know? Like, so I was like, maybe I should just ask him,
he was already repping it.
yeah, he was already repping it. He was already a really big fan, you know? So I knew that if anyone was going to do it, then it was going to be like him. And the biggest thing was I trusted him. I had already had like years of rapport as a friend with him, and we trusted each other. So I went in and we were really honest with each other. I'm like, this first year, we might lose money, man. This is going to hurt. This is going to be tough because we're going from just affording a website, you know, and my personal rent to affording rent of, you know, like this capacity, plus my personal, plus bills, plus staff, plus all these things. So he went into it and he's like, I already know how this works. I invested in another company. You know, so he already had invested in businesses before and understand the pain points and understand, and he came in this with a lot of experience, and that's what this needed. So yeah, and if I had never experimented with doing this pop-up at this cryogenic thing, something that no other art dealer that I know of would have experimented on, then I wouldn't have this, you know. But you have to like network like crazy. You have to try new things, and then things can just develop from there. But looking back, yeah, I was going into it and I was like, maybe I shouldn't do an art show at a medical spa. That doesn't make sense. But you know what? I was like, let's just go. Let's see what happens. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. And now I have a great business partner who, like, we've been able to scale this thing together, and he's helped find a great staff, and you know, that's kind of how it does. The whole like entrepreneurship when you're just on your own, that's fine, that's great, but in order to build anything like substantial, you need people, you need a team, you need to just create that foundation. And a lot of people, and me included, they'll think, well, I gotta like split all these pieces of the pie, but what happens if the pie is huge from this? Then it doesn't even matter, you know, the split. Like for me, I was like, I just want to grow this thing, you know, and I'll split it up however fair it needs to be, and that's kind of like how it's been.
I think one of the questions that like Jason has is definitely like surrounding leadership. Like as the company gets bigger, do you feel like you have more responsibility as a leader? Like,
Oh,
how
for
does that look
sure.
like?
And I, in the beginning, like I was just leading myself. I didn't even know how to be a leader, you know. But through the journey of building things, you're called upon to become a greater version of yourself, and you have to take that seriously, you know. So even if you're not a great leader, or I can't be a leader, or I don't know how to manage people myself, if you want that thing to become bigger than you, then you have to learn. You have to want it, you know? You have to study it, you have to read it. And think about the opportunity where say you had like a boss that you hated. Like, well, now it's my opportunity to be a boss that I would like, you know, but make sure the work gets done. Like, how could I be a better boss? The boss that I always wanted. And that's kind of how I looked at it, you know? Like, I would, you know, teach people. I wouldn't be rude to them. I'd be firm. I'd create deadlines, but I would make sure that we have fun too, you know? So that's kind of like how I always wanted things to be. And I've had to learn a ton on delegating and managing and pushing people, but not too hard, you know? So yeah, it's all been like a huge like learning experience, and I'm still learning now. And I think the learning never stops, you know. Like the moment you think like, oh, I got it all, I'm good, that's like the moment you slow down. You have to just always have your ego down as low as possible, and just like let in the learning all the time, and realize that even your staff can teach you things, you know, that you don't know it all. So just create an open environment.
How did you put your staff together? Like, what kind of talent and eye were you looking for in terms of like their skill set?
Yeah, so Eric, my business partner, he kind of helped start the staffing process. However, once they'd kind of pass through the door with him, he'd say, "Hey, I think this person is good," you know, and then they would come to me. So the team that we have now, I chose them because they were kind of relentless. For example, you know, we have a girl that's part of the team named Jenna, and she applied to be part of this multiple times. She showed up to events like multiple times, almost like she was like refusing no as an answer and saying, I'll do whatever it takes, you know? Like, you want me to like organize stuff? You want me to clean the bathroom? I don't care. I want to be in. And that's what I needed, because people see this nice environment and like, this is cool, this is art, but this is work too. You know, there is some grit to this. And I was looking for people who understood that, you know? We also have Sophia is another member of our team, who's a friend of mine before this, and I put out just a general ad, hey, looking for help with the gallery, and she responded, and she's kind of been the backbone to our operations as well.
She was here last time.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of these team members have been like very beneficial, you know, to the company and help grow it, because you know, at the end of the day, I need rest, you know, and my business partner needs rest, and yeah, but you have to just create a dream and an idea that people can really rally behind, you know? And in the beginning, you're not going to be able to like, hey, I'm going to offer you this amount of money plus benefits. Like, we really didn't have that, you know? But we did say, hey, if you stick with this, this will grow. We will be able to offer you more, and we will be able to, you know, train you on this business, which could help you learn on other assets of your life, you know? I will be here to teach as much as I know how to teach, you know? So yeah, that's it. And the cool thing is, this is a unique job. This is a fun job. You know, you're not behind a desk in the regular manner. You're surrounded by like really creative people. And for that, you know, in this day and age, I think there's a lot more people just interested in being part of something unique, rather than just making a ton of money and selling their soul, you know?
That's a good follow-up question.
Yeah,
to the next
yeah,
one,
for
which
sure.
is building community.
Yeah,
So like building a community around Artist Replete. You've got events that you throw here.
for sure.
Like the one question we love to ask entrepreneurs is like, first, like, what does community mean to you? And what kind of community are you trying to grow around?
Yeah, for sure. So I think community is the beginning of a business. It's the most important part, you know. And we have a lot of, you know, very wealthy clients now that have become my personal friends, and I don't like take that for granted. I'm very serious with that, and I don't hard sell them. I'm really like nice to them. Like, if you're interested in this, you know, we can talk about it more. You know, if you want to wait, that's cool too. But that all started with community, and it all starts with making sure that they have the best experience they can, and an inspiring experience when they come in. You know, you have to almost put yourself in their shoes and just not be so transparent with your self-interest. Meaning, you know, we're here to sell art, but if you don't have the money to buy this art, we welcome you in here too. Take a photo, you could share that. That's great too. You know, or if you just want to get inspiration for the day and think outside the box by looking at something, that's great too, you know? Because these things all lead to other things. You have to just appreciate everyone, you know? And in the art world, there is like a lot of classism, meaning there are a lot of like people who don't have much money, and then there are some people with insane amounts of money, billionaires, you know, that we've been blessed to deal with. But the art is a unique thing where all of these people can be in the same room for the same interest, you know?
Yeah.
Which I think is insane, you know? Yeah. Which has also made me very interested in building this thing more, and just very interested in this in general, because art is like, you know, it's like prehistoric, you know, it's just it's caveman, you know. So this is something in our DNA, you know, that we've always just been kind of interested in. And yeah, it art doesn't know wealth, you know, or status or anything like that. So it can just attract a variety of people, you know. I think art is like for everyone, you know.
Let's talk about resources. Like,
Yeah.
you said when you were like super interested and you went kind of down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Like, just for viewers that are thinking about going into the industry, who you might be inspiring right now, what are like some keywords and things that they could look up to help them just educate themselves on a foundational basis of the game?
Of like the art industry?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think with any business, particularly this, you kind of have to understand like where it was and where it's going. And in this case, I recognized that it was going like online a lot. And the statistic that made me realize that, hey, I for sure want to do this was that art sales were like increasing by like I think 10 to like 15% online every single year. So it wasn't slowing down. So yeah, it's just a huge playing field right now where an artist can build a basic website and they can post stuff on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok and they can just get sales. They don't even necessarily need a gallery. So it's like an open playing field. However, you have to have like a level of work ethic and you have to just be, very interested in growing. I think the big thing for either an artist or an entrepreneur is you have to try and surround yourself with people who could teach you. And in my case, I didn't know anyone who was an art dealer or who was an entrepreneur. So I bought books, I watched YouTube videos, and I tried to just get as much free education as I could.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of how it went.
Yeah. Let's see. I hate that I gotta. It's the part where I cut a little bit, just saying cut. No, you don't have to pause it though.
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, this one's a good one. All right. What's really like the why behind this whole entrepreneurial experience and journey for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is the same as any entrepreneur is they want freedom of schedule and they want to create something that they have like control of and they want to contribute. I think the biggest thing was contributing to society in a unique way because before this, as you know, I was like selling like, bottle service and just stuff I really wasn't proud of. And I just remember how I felt when I sold a piece of artwork and it just felt good. I'm like, wow, an artist makes money from this. He's happy. I make money from this, and this is like a win-win. I'm like, there's really no bad side effects in this, and the customer gets something that they can hold on to, and it could possibly go up in value, which is like another aspect. So I just think that a lot of it is like feeling based, like if it feels that you can make a contribution, then that's half the battle. And for me, that was a big part of the why. I was like, this is my thing. I was like, I like the creativity. I know how to sell, and I like that I'm, impacting, like a micro community that can grow into something bigger.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Let's kind of switch it up into like lifestyle habits.
Yeah, for sure.
I think you've been one of my biggest inspirations in going sober.
Yeah.
Like seeing you stick with it, even though I was like kind of teetering on and off for a while.
Yeah, it's difficult for a lot of people. So, I think the biggest thing that I recognized while growing a company is in the beginning, you don't have much money. I mean, I didn't have much money. So all you have is your time. That's your most valuable resource. And you can only work so much a day. So you have to really maximize this. And you have to, when you work, you have to kind of be in a good state mentally, and you have to just feel positive a lot of the time when things are just not going anywhere or not going right. So you have to stay positive. And in order to do that, the things that I would always go back to was I would exercise, I would try and eat right. And when the business started to become serious in the pandemic, I was like, well, there's another element to this that I need to do to take this to another level. And for me, it was just giving up drinking, like altogether, just stop. And drinking is such like a popular thing, and it is so like it's just ingrained in our culture. But for me, I didn't like being sluggish the next day. I didn't like mistakes. I didn't like embarrassment. I didn't like all of these additives that it brings. And the biggest thing was I wanted my time back every year. I wanted to work on this as much as I could while in a healthy state. And alcohol was just taking away that time from me. I couldn't work on it the next day because I went out last night. Oh, I wasn't in a good mood because I had shots, with my boys, and I just felt down the next couple of days. And after a while, I was like, I really don't need this anymore. You know,
Yeah.
I just don't. And also the money factor. It's like you're spending on. You're just, you know, not to sound like an anti-alcohol advocate, but
Yeah.
you're just blowing through money like over the year that you could have spent on your business. You could have spent on healthier food. You could have spent on a lot of better things than fucking yourself up. It's like you're investing in your own demise. Is how I look at it. And I just didn't want to invest in my own destruction anymore. And that just was for me. And if you like it and it helps you relax and maybe you can meet girls that way or that's your thing, I'm not here to stop you. But for me, it was not my thing anymore. And like in June of 2025, it'll be 4 years since I, you know, actually had a sip of alcohol. And my friends, they come to me and they're like, well, is this like a fad? Are you trying to go for 5 years? I'm like, no, you don't get it. I'm done. You know, that's it. And they're like, well, you know, probably later on in your 40s, you'll get like way more money and you'll probably want to drink again. I'm like, nope, I don't want to, you know, and that's just kind of it. You know, I just never want to go back. And in the beginning, like making a drastic change like that, that is like the pinnacle of social environments, it's going to be awkward. And it was like for the first couple months, but now it's just second nature to me. Like I don't feel awkward at all. And putting yourself out there in an environment where people, they need to like kind of change themselves to be what they feel is their authentic self is just not something that I want to do. Like I want to be my authentic self without any substance like altering me to be that way. Like when you see me right now, this is like my authentic self. I don't need anything. I don't need any additive. This is me, you know?
Yeah.
And you can spend years working on that without like, you know, having to change like other elements that are unnatural, you know?
Yeah.
If that makes
Totally.
sense. Yeah, yeah.
No, totally.
Yeah.
That's one of my biggest reasons of doing it as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Same
And you know, you can't let others impact like how you move and operate. Like I still support my friends who love to drink and I'll still go out with them, but it doesn't mean I'm gonna like contribute, you know? It's like, you know, like you have to, with anything in life, whether it's business, giving up drinking, having a good relationship with your family, getting married, you have to want that shit to work. You have to want it and you have to be dedicated to it, you know? So, and that choice is no different than that, you know?
Hell yeah.
And, you know, like on a darker note, like a transparent note, like I was always struggling in my relationships because of alcohol. Like dating was tough for me because, you know, I would be with a partner and they would get drunk and say some stupid shit or like there'd be drama and I would be part of that too. And I just didn't want to do that. So not only did I want to get my time back, I wanted to foster better relationships and and just have a better future for myself. So that's just personally why I made that choice, you know? You know, if you're able to carry on life and everything is good with that in your life, then you shouldn't change anything. You're doing well, but I just couldn't. So I had to give it up.
Speaking of choices,
Yeah.
one of the questions that Jason had was like, when the business ever had like a dip, or like when things were bad,
Yeah.
and like you said, being relentless and getting through those days.
Oh, there's many times. Like there's
what's the
dozens of
mindset
times
that's going on in your head?
for
Like,
sure.
how do you speak to
Yeah, there's dozens of times when I was like, I just got to give this up. Nah, I can't do this anymore. There was like dozens. And every entrepreneur, they need to know that they're going to have those times. But what you have to do is no matter like where you're at in the journey, you have to remind yourself, like if you started already, like, well, I already started, you know? Or for me, it's like, I think 3 years in, it was like really starting to get tough. You know, I was like, I don't know. Well, I'm like, well, I'm already 3 years in, you know? And then you have to start thinking in terms of like, you know, half a decade to a decade to like 2 decades, because nothing like builds in the course of like 2 to 3 years unless you have like some gangbusters idea and you're doing everything right. The reality is this stuff takes time and you're going to struggle through it. But the most beautiful thing about that is you have to change in order for that to grow. So not only will your business change, you have to change who you are as a person. This has forced me to change, you know? Like if I didn't have this business, I might still be drinking like on the weekends. I do not, you know? like I'm in very good physical shape. It's because I have to maintain physical shape to have stamina to run this thing. Like, let the business push you around in your life to the point it hurts, so you have to level up to make it work, you know?
Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts, man? Anything that you would advise for aspiring entrepreneurs out
Yeah,
there
for sure.
taking their first step?
Yeah. I kind of just want to echo on some stuff I already said. Just always realize that it's going to take time, and you have to just kind of see it through. Like, although we're in a nice setting now, like downtown Michigan, on Michigan Ave, like in downtown Chicago, like before I got here, while I was building my website, I would have tons of odd jobs. Like in the winter, I would shovel snow so I can afford my domain, and my rent,
Yeah.
like I wasn't worried about the grit and the grind. I was like waking up in the 4 in the morning to like to shovel some snow so I'd have some money so I can keep doing my thing. Like a lot of people, they'll just give up, or they'll let their full-time job like make it so they don't have enough energy to work on this when they get home. Like, you have to just push through that. Like, this will never see the light of day, but know that if you push through all of that, you can live a different life. Like, I'm blessed right now where if I didn't want to work tomorrow, I could just call an employee and I don't got to work tomorrow. There's no one telling me what to do. But in order to get there, you have to go through hell, and you have to want to go through hell. Like, I mean, no one wants to, but you have to embrace that pain.
Yeah, kind of be a masochist.
Yeah. In a way, like, you just have to know what's ahead and think in terms of years, not moment to moment, because you're going to fall. It's going to be sad. You're going to hurt. But just realize if you keep getting back up, it's going to work. You have to just keep getting back up. And I'm not talking about keep getting back up like month after month. I'm talking about year after year. Keep getting back up,
Yeah.
And learn from your mistakes, understand your mistakes so you don't repeat them, like, because a lot of people, they'll just continually make the same mistake in life. You have to learn. You have to be accountable. We live in this society that doesn't want to take accountability for things. You have to be the most accountable person if you want to move forward in life. Like, yes, this is my fault. This didn't work out because I messed this up, and even if you didn't mess this up, someone else did it. Well, you created the environment that let it mess up. So you're also at fault. Just scream with accountability.
Appreciate you, man.